check this out. I'm about to run an AI hacker that's able to go through and completely analyze our code base for the brand new app that we've developed, vibe coding, and we'll be able to see any vulnerabilities for potential attacks. And now all I need to do is press enter. And there we go. It's now starting up some containers. It's pulling down the required aspects that we need to do all of this testing. Of course, we're then going to break it down into the 5 phases so we can go through and do this analysis for us. So there we go. It's now gone through the first phase, which of course is setting everything up. We're making sure that we install all of the different local files. And now, as you can see there, we've got the defensive testing that we'll be able to run in the background. If you come across to Docker, we'll also see that we've now got Shannon that was working in the background as a container. So we know it's actively working and it's already been 37 seconds. So we can see it's going through the CPU usage, everything like this. So there we go. And we've just got our results back. We can see everything on the right hand side here, breaking down the model that he used. We can see the number of terms. This is going to break it down by a section that it's done. I love the map for the event history that we've got here as well. But as we can see here, what it did and how long each section took. And if we click on them, as we can see here, we then get lots and lots of results coming back to really understand in depth. In here, we've now got all of the different reports that it's generated for us. And we've got the main one here we'll be able to view. So I'm just going to open this up in a quick text edit, as we can see here. And now he's got several different vulnerabilities that's identified. We've got some critical ones that we need to actually go through and work. There's tons and tons of different ones in here. Then come back across to platforms like Anti-Gravity, VS Code, Claude Code, all of these different ones. Be able to tell it what it needs to do, or literally give it access to the deliverables, and it will go through and make the enhancements based on any vulnerabilities it's been able to detect. Vibe coding with Claude Code and Anti-Gravity makes you be able to ship code faster and build your very own SaaS in the matter of hours. But you're probably not even running security tests, and if you do, maybe it's once a year. For 364 days of the year, you're shipping brand new code, not realizing it's potentially full of vulnerabilities. And that's a massive security gap, but Shannon solves this. It's an AI pen tester that delivers actual exploits, not just alerts. In this video, I'm going to run us through what AI pen testing is, why it's really important for when you're vibe coding your ideas to life, how we're able to set up Shannon completely for free from GitHub, how we can run it on our actual apps, and last of all, some example outputs too. So if you want to make your vibe coded app secure, let's jump straight in. But first, what is pen testing and why is it important? Well, essentially, we want to break our web app, identify any vulnerabilities before we get third-party actors that could be hackers, white hat, black hat hackers, whatever it may be, that are trying to gain access to our brand new app that we've just released and we're running for many users potentially, and they could get access to lots of data behind the scenes and some sensitive information. But what we want to do is, whilst we're developing our code locally, before we come and push it through to GitHub with the latest changes or an updated version of our app, and make it publicly accessible over platforms like Vercel, we want to make sure that we're cutting off any issues at the start so that we can't have that vulnerability exposed from day one. Now, previously to do this, we had 2 methods to achieve it. We've been able to do it manual for many years now, where we had to book a specific pen tester that would be able to go through and do it for us. We normally had to schedule that work to be completed. It would take a couple of work to actually get completed by the tester, normally have a week to write a report, and it would cost between $5,000 to $15,000 to complete the entire process. But that's where Shannon comes into play and the use of Claude. What we're able to do is, all running locally on our machine, is we just simply run a command. First of all, it goes through phase 1, trying to identify potential different vectors to, of course, attack from. It's then going to go through and explain that in a bit more detail. Then it's going to run the actual commands and try and exploit it. And then it's going to identify any certified vulnerabilities at the end and disregard any that it couldn't actually achieve. This entire process can actually take 90 minutes, but it depends on the amount of code you've got going through. And we can do it for a fraction of the cost to the main developer here, with most of the examples running around $50 according to their documentation. And the best part about all of this, Shannon is entirely free for us to use the live version. It's only going to cost us our API keys. so we can get it to go through and break our app before anyone else does. But Shannon is incredibly powerful, so it's worth noting that you should only use this on non-production environments and to make sure that you're only using it within ethical and legal bounds. So for example, you're only using it on your code base, you're not doing it on any code bases you don't have authorization for. So what can Shannon actually do? Well, it's a fully autonomous operation that runs with one single command that we're going to show you in this video. It produces pen tester grade reports with production exploits, i.e. it's really going to go through and analyze where the potential issues are for our app, how we can access it, export data, and then it's going to help write a report about it, what's broken, where we need to improve, and it does this through several different areas and methods to extract the data, and it can run it in parallel to complete this process faster versus doing it through one specific agent. And powering all of this, we're able to use Claude Code or the Anthropic API key. If you don't want to work with them, we've also got access to OpenAI and Google Gemini too. So now let's check out what it's able to do. So as we can see here, I've got a quick vibe coded app that I've just brought to life really quickly to help us show the example. We're going to come through and log into an account. So there we go. And we'll just sign in with a dummy account. This entire app enables us to go through, scrape Reddit for some business ideas, completely powered by Bright Data, and we're using Claude to generate all of the ideas. Just to show you a quick example. As we can see here, it's an entirely working app, so we'll just come down to, for example, this year. We're going to say that we want 25 different apps for small businesses, high demand, maybe easy build, and we'll launch the agent. Now it's going to start going through, actually providing that result for us. So as we can see there, it's starting to run in the background. Whilst it does that, I've also connected it to an example Superbase as well. So we've got a couple of different API keys, ideas, profiles. Again, none of this is best practice. I just want to show you what's possible and how it's going to go through and analyze it on the back end. So there we go. It's just gone through and scraped a load of different posts as we can see here. Some of the upvotes, some of the downvotes. And if we open that link up, as we can see here, it takes us through to a real account for a post that's on Reddit, so we know it's some real data. Now it's going through and it's just finished generating some pain points. As we can see here, we've got some signals. So for example, small business bookkeeping, we've got solo entrepreneur burnout, we got seasonal business cash flow, we got loads and loads of different points in here, all ranked based on, of course, their scores. Now it's going to go through and generate some SaaS ideas for us. So there we go, it's finished generating the ideas. We've got book keep easy. We've got some information in there as an example, why we should build it, what we should use it for. Contract keeper, seasonal cash, we got local lead tracker. So there's a couple of different points in there, of course, all based on their scoring as well, which we could definitely improve. Again, we're just showing an example app that we're able to go through and use. Same with the stress testing, and we've just got the results back as we can see here. So now if we wanted to bring this to life, we absolutely could with these 4 example ideas here, which are rubbish, but again, it's a fully working app that we've got in the background. We've got our dashboards, our profiles, our settings, everything like this, plus the backend that you just saw. First things first, you're going to need to make sure that you have Docker installed, because this is going to enable us to create an isolated container for it to go through and do all of the testing that we need it to do without, of course, affecting any of our local machine in the same way. So once you've got Docker installed, well, as we can see here, we're going to have a nice, simple 5-step process, which I'm going to run through in more detail now, walk you through step by step, but you'll also be able to find all of this in the community as well, if you want to walk through it in your own time. So first thing, we're going to need to come through and make sure that we've got Shannon actually running locally on our machine. So if we come back across to GitHub where we'll find all of the files, we're going to come down to where we've got the quick start guide, and we're just going to simply copy this first part here. We're then going to come across to our terminal, and to make sure we're installing it on our local desktop, we're going to do CD and then the squiggly line here and press enter to make sure we're on the desktop. Now we're able to go through and just paste our command in here to actually clone that repository down to our local machine so that we can go through and use it. This will be as fast or slow as your internet allows, so it could take a couple of minutes, but as you can see there, it's gone through and resolved it incredibly quickly for me. And now that we've got Shannon locally on our machine, we need to go through and create one specific folder. Because we're going to be running this with our local instance, we need to come through and create a repos folder, because of course we're going to be running this locally on our machine versus trying to do the pen testing on the web. But you can do that as well. I'm not showing that in this video. So what we're going to do is come down and copy this command here, come back across to our terminal and paste. What you want to do is just rename this part here. So for example, ours is SaaS idea and then gen, because this is going to go through and actually create a repos folder, which is going to be where we store all of the files for our specific app, the GitHub repo we've developed. That's where we want to store it. So we're going to press enter. Now to show you quickly, I've just come across to my specific location where we installed it earlier on with our command up the top here. And as we can see, we've now got a folder called Shannon, and we've got all of the details in here from the GitHub repo, and we've got the folder with SaaS Ideas Gen in here for us to use. So now we know that we've definitely got all of that installed. We need to come through and give it the power of Claude and Claude Code for it to be able to execute all of the commands. You can also run it with, for example, ChatGPT 5.2 or Gemini 3 models. Just make sure to check their documentation for the latest. So we've made sure to clone the repos. Now we're going to come through and create our API keys. So to add our Claude API keys, first of all, we're going to copy this command here, come back across to our terminal and paste in there. Now you need to delete this part here so we can go through and add our API key. To do that, we're going to come across to platform.claude to be able to come through and create our API key. I'm going to call this YouTube demos, and then we're just going to call it Shannon and then delete me. Now we're going to be able to add that in there, copy this API key, come back across to our terminal, paste in there, and make sure that we add our end quotes at the end. Next, we're going to press enter. Now that we've added our API key, we need to come back across, copy this command here, and then run that as well, just increasing the amount of max export tokens that we're able to use with Shannon. Now they say that it costs around $50 to complete this process, again varying on of course the code that it's analyzing. So I recommend just coming through to your limits, coming down to spend limits here, and then changing it to around $60, just so it's got some buffer room in case it uses more. That's going to help us just control the spend and make sure that you don't rack up a huge bill if you didn't intend to. So now we've come through and added our API keys and the Claude Code settings. Now we need to come through and actually download our app from our GitHub repo to be able to run it locally. So for this example, I'm going to come across to the Git repo that I had for the app we showed earlier on. We're going to come down and just copy this command here, come back across to the terminal, paste in there, but we need to add some specific points first. First, we're going to do full stop, / and then repos. Then we'll do / and the SaaS idea generator that we had from earlier on. So what this means is it's going to go through and download all of our files from GitHub and store it in that specific repo folder for, of course, Shannon to use. So now all we need to do is press enter, and it should start cloning it down to our specific repo. So now if we reopen up our folders again, as we can see here, we've now got all of those details and files and folders and everything that we originally had in our GitHub repository, now accessible locally and specifically in the repos folder for us to go through and do the testing. So now we've got everything downloaded. What do we need to do? Well, now we need to come through and check if our app is already running. As mentioned, you can come through and use the URL if you want to, but you need to make sure that, again, you're only using it in non-production environments, and we really don't want to be testing it on anyone else's, only ones that we're authorized to actually run it on. For many of us that are actually running it locally on our machine and within the repos folder, this is where we need to come through and make sure that we start the app up first. So we're going to need to come through, make sure that we're in the right folder for where we've downloaded it, and then just start that dev. And we need to make sure that we note the port so that we can give it to Shannon next for it to go through and execute the test. So to do this, we're going to do CD, because this is going to be directing us to that specific folder. That's where we're going through. We're going to do CD repos / So we'll just make sure to come up. We'll do / SaaS ideas gen / and then we called it idea forge. So we're just going to come back and do idea and then forge as well. So now we're going to press enter. So now, as we can see here, we've changed our folder from Shannon to idea forge. So we're going to do npm and then install. We're going to press enter to make sure that we've got any of the required folders and extra elements that we need to actually be able to run this application locally. Next, we're going to do npm and then run and then dev. We'll enter this and this should start it up so it's running locally on our machine. The most important part of this is we need to check the port that it's using. So in this use case, it's going to be 3001. So that's the specific port that we need to take note of. Now to check it's all definitely running, we're just going to copy this. We're going to come across to a browser. We're going to press enter in there. We'll probably get an error. Yep, I was expecting that because of course it doesn't have some of the Supabase URL and the public API key. So of course, if your app doesn't have this, don't worry, it will then be able to show you the app running and you can go through and do the pen testing. But of course, we just need to go through and add this quickly for ours to work. So for mine, I'm just going to come back to the terminal, do Control and then C just to stop it running. And then quickly going to just come through and do nano ev local just to have a local file for us to use. So there we go, everything added in. Now we're going to do Control and then X just to exit. We're going to do yes, we want to save everything. And then we want to press enter to save everything ready to go. So now that's all saved with our API keys, we should now be able to run that and be able to see everything up and running in our local app. So now we're just going to do npm run and then dev just to start it back up and we should be able to see everything running. So again, we'll copy this URL. We'll then open up a new tab, paste in there, and there we go. We can see everything's up and running as we would expect for the local host. So now we're ready for testing. Let's get Shannon actually running. So now to run Shannon, I'm going to come across to a new terminal, but you can do it in the previous one you've just installed. This is just to show you, of course, if you're running this multiple times, how to do it. First of all, we're going to make sure that we go into the specific folder we've created, which of course will be Shannon. Now we're just going to make sure that we re-add in our API key, just of course the one that we had before, and we'll make sure to set the max output tokens to that higher limit as well. Of course, this is because we're testing it again, just to make sure everything's set up. So now to run the test, we're just going to enter this command in here, which is going to tell Shannon to start the actual analysis. And we're going to be using port 3001 for this process. And we want to analyze this specific repo that we've developed to get the outputs. We're going to triple check that, of course, our Docker desktop is also set up and running, and now all I need to do is press enter. And there we go, it's now starting up some containers, it's pulling down the required aspects that we need to do all of this testing. Of course, we're then going to break it down into the 5 phases so we can go through and do this analysis for us. So this will take a little while just to get everything set up. The entire process is normally around 90 minutes to complete everything for us, but we can also go through and actually see what it's doing throughout the process as well. So there we go, it's now gone through the first phase, which of course is setting everything up. We're making sure that we install all of the different local files. And now, as you can see there, we've got the defensive testing that we'll be able to run in the background. So we're going to be able to see everything as it goes through. We're also going to be able to see, of course, how it's doing the analysis. So this is where we're going to come through and be able to use the logs element to check its progress as it goes through. If you come across to Docker, we'll also see that we've now got Shannon that was working in the background as a container. So we know it's actively working and it's already been 37 seconds. So we can see it's going through the CPU usage, everything like this. I'm running it on an M1 Max MacBook Pro from a couple of years ago. So again, it should be more than powerful enough to handle a lot of these queries. So now if we want to see exactly what Shannon's doing at any point in time, all we need to do is copy this URL here, or we can run any of these queries, but I'm going to copy this URL here. We're going to come across to our browser, just paste in there, and now we should be able to see exactly what it's doing. Now there's lots of detailed information here, don't worry about that at all. It's what it's doing at any specific point in time to actually analyze how our app's working. So now to explore the UI a bit more, of course, we can come back to the namespaces. We can see the workflows that it's currently doing. We can see parent workflows. We can see, of course, the different schedules if anything's triggered, the batch operations. We can click through all of this as much as we need because this is just the web UI that we've got set up to be able to see everything going on. So if I come back to our agent, as we can see here, we've got the history of everything it's doing down the bottom, how long it's been running for, any relationships, any workers that it's running. We've got any pending activities, lots and lots of information in here to really see what Shannon's doing at any one point. So if we come through to a new terminal, do cd and then Shannon, this will open us into the folders. And if we then run that command there for the logs, what we should be able to see is exactly what it's doing at any specific point in time. So now, as we can see here, it's going through completing all of the different actions. The testings for still in phase 1 and 2. So actually going through and really analyzing everything first before it starts executing the pen testing. And of course gives us the results as part of phase 4. So there we go, and we've just got our results back. We can see everything on the right hand side here, breaking down the model that he used. We can see the number of terms. This is going to break it down by a section that it's done. If we come all the way down the bottom, we'll see the summary here. We'll see that it cost a total of $57 to run it. It had 2,093 turns and an agent count of 11. It did run for a significant portion of time. That's because I walked away from the computer and just let it run in the background. But of course, we'd want to keep an eye on this in the future. I love the map for the event history that we've got here as well. As we can see, this just took a little bit longer than usual because it ran out of credits, so I just had to top it up whilst it was running in the background. But as we can see here, what it did and how long each section took. And if we click on them, as we can see here, we then get lots and lots of results coming back to really understand in depth. And if we come back across to the logs as well, we'll be able to see in here the actual cost, the agents, we can see the duration. But I also love that we're able to see the agent breakdown in here as well, so we can see how long it took at each step. And of course, we'll be able to run this as many times as we wanted across our apps, because for $57, yes, it may not be perfect, and they've got the enhanced pro version that you can use with the company that developed Shannon directly, but it's incredibly good. Of course, we also want this in the report format. So what we're able to do is come back across to the folder where we have all of our GitHub repos stored, as we can see here. We've now got a brand new folder that we'll be able to analyze, which is called deliverables. In here, we've now got all of the different reports that it's generated for us, and we've got the main one here we'll be able to view. So I'm just going to open this up in a quick text edit, as we can see here. And now he's got several different vulnerabilities that's identified. We've got some critical ones that we need to actually go through and work. It looks like there are no SQL or command inject ones. There's no XS vulnerabilities. There's tons and tons of different ones in here. Again, I'm not an expert on all of this different stuff, so I really recommend what you should do is understand it yourself, kind of walk through it step by step, some of the different points, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. Or what we're able to do is literally come across to platforms like Claude, go through and attach all of the files. We can then literally give it a prompt saying, please can you analyze all of the reports from a pen tester and summarize them for a report and tell me the key insights and next steps. And whilst that runs through, look at the other documentation we've got. We've got both the analysis and the exploitation reports. So for example, the auth analysis, if we just open this up again with another text edit, what we'll be able to see is basically the hypothesis and how it went through and really analyzed the entire process, the executive summary, pulling out some of the key points of what it wants to go after. But then if we come through and open up the evidence side of it instead, is that we now come through and we can actually see how and why it was able to execute and pull through some of the information. So again, I'm not an expert on all of this stuff, definitely recommend going through and checking it out. But this is why tools like this are so amazing, because now it's not a matter of weeks to get insights like this coming back. We're able to get it within a matter of hours now. And yes, it may not be 100% of the way there on everything, but their quality is incredibly high. They've got 96% success rate, so it's definitely something to take into consideration. Imagine being able to run through all of these reports. That's what Claude and Claude Code and anti-gravity can massively help with. And there we go, it's just come back with a report, and as we can see on the right hand side, we've got 2 critical vulnerabilities, 4 confirmed vulnerabilities, and a ton of different ones. Again, this was just an example repo we set up really quickly just to demonstrate what you're able to do and why it's really important to be able to go through, analyze your repos for vulnerabilities, then come back across to platforms like anti-gravity, VS Code, Claude Code, all of these different ones, be able to tell it what it needs to do, or literally give it access to the deliverables, and it will go through and make the enhancements based on any vulnerabilities it's been able to detect. So if you're doing anything with volume coding, bringing your app ideas to life, I definitely recommend coming through and doing some AI pen testing, or just making sure you're really making your apps as secure and as robust as possible. And that's where Shannon comes into play. If you're interested about AI and automation, definitely subscribe to the channel. We've got lots of content. If you want to take your learning for AI and automation to the next level, join our community, which is the first link in the description. If you want AI and automation for your business, it's the second one. Stay tuned for more and have a great day.